As we celebrate Native American Heritage Month, we're taking a closer look at a major Supreme Court case involving Indigenous children. For years, the Indian Child Welfare Act has been called the gold standard for keeping Native foster kids connected to their tribes. But now all of that could be on the line due to a landmark legal battle over race, family, and adoption. Here's our Devin Dwyer reporting in tonight from Fort Worth, Texas.
They're a blended American family in a fight to stay together.
Well, in December, we have a court hearing again for the adoption of our son's sister, and if we lose, she could be taken away.
Dr. Jennifer Burkeen, an anesthesiologist, and her husband Chad, a civil engineer and stay-at-home dad, are parents to 2 biological children and 2 Native American siblings they fostered for years.
And how much do they know about what's going on?
We hope very little. Cultural considerations are a challenge for every adoptive family, no matter what race they are or what race their children are.
Are you getting sleepy?
For Native foster children, those cultural considerations also have a legal dimension. Since 1978, the Indian Child Welfare Act, or ICWA, has set rules for who can adopt Native American kids, giving preference first to immediate family, then a member of the child's tribe, then to an unrelated tribe, before potential parents who are non-Native.
The interest in a young tribal citizen, the child, in staying with her tribe is a high interest.
It's an answer to the forced removal of hundreds of thousands of Native children from their tribes over generations, separated from their families and placed in government-run boarding schools or Christian churches through the 1960s. The tribes say ICWA has been critical to keeping their cultures alive and protecting their sovereignty as independent nations.
If you start to remove the next generation of any society, you really start to erode that society.
The Indian Child Welfare Act is quite a stout law to go up against. The justification to deviate from that law is a pretty high bar to overcome.
To foster families like the Burkeens, ICWA is a barrier to adoption of children they've nurtured and loved for most of their young lives. In an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, the couple says the law is not only unreasonable, but unconstitutional.
For him to just get taken away and moved to someone he's never met before, who he's not related to, it didn't seem like the right thing to do as his mom.
By giving adoption priority to Native families over white families, they say the law discriminates on the basis of race.
It defines an Indian child as a child who is either a tribal member or could someday become a tribal member based entirely on biological ancestry.
The Burkeens moved to adopt their 7-year-old son after fostering him for more than a year. But despite approval from his biological family, the Navajo Nation challenged the adoption in court under ICWA. After a 2-year legal battle, the tribe backed down, but now the family is fighting to adopt his younger sister, their 4.5-year-old foster daughter, who state officials were prepared to place with a Native family nearly 1,000 miles away because of the law.
In the state system, certainly we would have been the first call.
So in other words, you're saying if she had not been Native American, the first call would have been to you?
100%.
Neither the Navajo Nation nor the children's relatives responded to ABC News' repeated requests for an interview. But in court documents, the tribe argues that ICWA protects the best interests of Indian children and promotes the stability and security of Indian tribes and families. They argue the long-standing adoption preferences are not based on race, but on political qualifications for tribal citizenship.
I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. This is Punku, and it's...
Autumn Adams, a member of the Yakama Nation, is among dozens of former foster youth asking the Supreme Court to uphold the law.
Being American Indian is not a racial matter, it's a political matter. We're members of tribal nations that are sovereign nations.
She says she's an ICWA success story after landing in the Washington state foster system at 9 years old when her father died by suicide.
My mother at that time was addicted to alcohol and some hard drugs. Immediately after that, actually, she spiraled in a really dark hole right before you stoop.
Autumn and her younger brother John were taken into state custody and later placed with tribal relatives.
What would have happened if they had not found a relative to take you?
My assumption is they would have split me and John up.
Potentially with a non-Native family.
more than likely with a non-Native family. There are not a lot of Native foster homes.
Native children are 4 times more likely than white children to be placed in foster care in this country. More than a decade ago, 27% of Native foster kids were placed with other family members. Today, it's up to 38%, an improvement experts attribute to ICWA.
Tribal families know what they're doing. Yes, there are challenges, but what was happening in the century before ICWA was just so detrimental to tribal communities.
After turning 19, Autumn won custody of her 2 younger siblings and says their personal bond and family traditions show why ICWA matters.
Even to this day, we are working on relearning our language, and we still continue to practice our traditional teachings.
But the Burkines insist equal opportunity to adopt doesn't have to come at the expense of culture.
We do share a lot of common values with the Native Americans, with taking care of each other, with the emphasis on family and the emphasis on elders and children of those in need.
The nation's 574 tribes say the stakes in the Burkine case are bigger than one family. If the Supreme Court strikes down ICWA as discrimination on the basis of race, they say it could upend decades of Indian law treating tribes as independent political nations.
If our sovereignty is eroded because of this case, we're going to have a setback that will take generations to repair, if we can repair it at all.
The Burkines say their focus remains on their family, hoping the nation's highest court strikes a balance between respect for tribes and young children who have already been through so much.
Attachment is one of the most important things, and we're not saying that culture is not important. We do believe culture is important, but it's not the most important thing.
Our thanks to Devin for that.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.